Testing, testing. Yeah, hello. So, today I wanted to talk about two things. Um, that is the idea of nourishment and the idea of a vital force. So, I don't know, what is nourishment and why is it important? As I was growing up, I didn't really have an idea of what nourishment was or what it felt like. Um, there was just, in terms of like putting things in my body and using particular products, there was just this sense of have to, of should, and there were just things that I did because that was just the way that they had always been done or the way that I was told to do them, and like that was the only factor in me doing those things. And so it was almost like nourishment was like not something that I thought about, and as a result, like there was this, the nourishment bubble, the idea of what I thought was nourishing was like entirely different than what was actually nourishing for me. So it was like, I didn't think that I was gravitating towards, this idea of nourishment, but in a way, like you are by default doing what you think nourishes you. Whether that be like drinking alcohol, like binge drinking alcohol and eating Cheetos or eating food in front of the TV. Like that's an attempt by yourself to do something nourishing and restorative. So no matter what, like you are attempting to nourish yourself, whether or not like you are consciously identifying with the term nourishment. But if you decide to, or I don't know, if you start like inquiring and like paying attention, becoming sensitive, asking yourself, what is actually nourishing me? Then you might start to realize and have, this realization that the things that you're trying to do to nourish yourself weren't actually nourishing you. So today I can think of, this facial lotion that I have that I put on my skin, and it just kind of seems to like fight against my skin. I don't know, and I've been using it for like a year, and I think that this new facial lotion that I have feels different than that. I think it feels compatible with my skin, basically like my skin wants it. And there's this idea that I want to express, or more of a felt sense that I want to express, of like this kind of magic that happens when you get something that nourishes you, and it becomes this nourishing positive feedback loop, where all of a sudden you start to crave the things that nourish you, rather than like craving / needing the things that you think are nourishing you, because you come to realize like there's this gap between what you thought was nourishment and what you thought you needed but wasn't actually serving you, and then what the thing that's actually serving you. Another thing that's coming to mind for nourishment is yes. Yeah, so I learned to make steamed vegetables like a month ago. And while I haven't done it a ton of times, this is something that I found that's super nourishing. Like I didn't conceive of consuming vegetables as something that felt nourishing. It always felt like a chore, and the best I could really get from it was like, oh yeah, this cognitive idea of like, oh yeah, I'm doing something good for my body, like I'm theoretically, some future me is going to benefit from me having done this, rather than a felt sense of in the moment, this like tingle or electrically charged sense of like, oh wow, no, this feels really good. This feels like deeply rewarding, like right now. And I want to do this more. I want to do this more often. And that's the way it feels for me to eat steamed spinach. I like steamed spinach. I like it a lot. And it's super simple and easy. You know, I just put spinach in the steamer basket. I put that in a pot. I pour some water in the pot. I put the lid on. I put it on medium heat for like 10 minutes with the lid tight. And then I take the lid off. And then, boom, I have both steamed spinach and I have like this broth at the bottom that I can also drink. And some of the nutrients go there. And there's, in terms of nourishment, you know, I prior to this, I was only familiar with like, you know, putting dry spinach in a bowl, and then I don't know, putting other vegetables with it. I didn't even like to eat it with dressing because I was aware that eating it with dressing is not good, and so I would just eat you know, this dry ass spinach with like dry edamame and maybe some other stuff, and it was just like I would actually do that, and it wouldn't taste good. And the only alternative was like eating frozen vegetables and eating that with butter or something. But like that didn't like hit the spot, and there was a frustration there of like, oh, I'm supposed to be eating this, you know, I'm supposed to be, you know, taking care of myself, but it wasn't nourishing was the thing. So there was this idea of what was nourishing, and then there was what was actually nourishing. And eating frozen veggies or eating the dry spinach wasn't nourishing. It didn't go into my body and like feel all the way down. But that's the way it feels when I eat the cooked spinach or drink the broth. You know, I eat the cooked spinach and that goes in all solid, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to use these parts to, you know, build proteins that are going to do good things inside of myself. And when I drink the broth, that is like an even deeper sense of, you know, it's like a liquid that just kind of settles in and goes, it's deep and just kind of settles down and just goes, like, you know, that's gonna make us feel more peaceful. You know, we're gonna use this water to, like, you know, I don't know, transport things around our body and get more fluid motion. So the sense of nourishment is deeply rewarding. In fact, it's the definition of a reward. It's the definition of something that is getting into your reward system and motivating you to do things that are actually good for you. So definitely check out like what am I trying to do to nourish myself? You know, what products am I using, or what activities am I doing in an attempt to nourish myself? And you know, how does that differ from what's actually going to nourish me? Like is this actually nourishing me? And if not, you know, what is actually nourishing me? Or like, how can I experiment to find something that will nourish me? At least identifying that gap of like sitting there and being like, man, you know, I've been trying to eat vegetables, but like for the last year, every time I eat vegetables, it just doesn't feel good. Yeah, you know, identify that gap. And it's not just like, it goes beyond just like taste pleasure. I'd say there's like subtle pleasures that are like deep blisses associated. Like for me, with like drinking the broth with the cooked spinach or the steamed spinach, it's a kind of a subtle bliss that tells me that I'm doing the right thing for myself, rather than like I just want to make sure that no one's going to get the wrong idea and think, oh man, you know, I gotta like crunch up some like nacho Doritos and put that in my vegetables because then it's going to taste good for me. And it's like, no, then like in that case there would be probably like a subtle dissonance of like, you know, hey, maybe this tastes really good and this is exactly what I want, like taste wise, but there's some kind of a wanting that's not getting met, and it might be a more long-term wanting, and it might be subtle, and it might come up in like pains or whatever, but yeah, the idea is to just like have all of your needs met, have it be tasty, but also, in the long term, make it feel really good for you. So this is already 10 minutes, so that's what I want to say about nourishment, and I'll make another video about this idea of vital force. It's really important to do what's nourishing for you, and to get back in touch with that felt sense of, oh, this is nourishing me, this is worth making a routine out of this. Hope this is helpful.